Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin. And hey, familia, we are on YouTube. Please, por favor, give us a like and subscribe, por favor. It'd be great. We keep seeing those numbers keep jumping up a little bit more here and there. Really appreciate it. I'm going to try and get a little more content out there these last few weeks, help you win your leagues. And speaking of helping you win your leagues, hey, you know what? Make sure you're signing up for when you go to fantasypoints.com and you get a subscription. Put in that promo code 22familia10, 22familia10 if you're doing it in Spanish. Get 10% off the already reduced 25% off price point. Hey, you get the best of the best. John Hanson, Joe Dolan, Graham Barfield, Scott Barrett, Tom Brawley, Wes Huber, some of the great fantasy minds. And I've been learning a lot on how to become a better analyst myself just by following their content. They're going to help you be a better fantasy player. And also, speaking of being a good fantasy player, Familia, you know what? I'm smarting a little bit right now because Primo Ricky, he got me by the difference between sitting Tom Brady for Matt Ryan last week's. You know what? The process was, I saw rain in the forecast for Tampa Bay, Cleveland. So I pivoted to Ryan. He was at home where he's been at his best. Had a couple of 300-yard games in there. Plus, I had him stacked with Michael Pittman. They did have a chance of connecting. They'd already connected on a touchdown. They were driving, they being the Colts. Maybe if he gets another touchdown in there, I win that game. But honestly, if I would have done is start Tom Brady, I would have won. So that's the difference. I know, Primo Hector, you say not to say if in fantasy football. Come on. That one got me. If I miss the playoffs by one game, that's going to be the reason. So, but if I did advance, but I did advance in one league. So in one playoff league, and that's the Scott Fish Bowl. Scott Fish Bowl 12, Familia. Yeah, hey, your Primo here. Put up 197 points this week. That was a good week. Muchas gracias to Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. Vámonos, round two. Let's do it again and again and again. All right. So let's get into Los Peekups for lucky week number 13. Not a lot of them. We're going quality over quantity. There's no streaming D as of now. Check out my Twitter at Jorge Martin17. I may throw one out there later on, but I don't see any good matchups in teams that are in defenses that are rostered in 50% and under. So two players that are barely above that 50% threshold in Yahoo leagues. It's Chase Claypool, rostered in 53%, and Treylon Burks at 51%. You need to get them on your roster. Familia, these guys are stashes. Darnell Mooney's out for the season. Someone's got to be the wide receiver one for Justin Fields when he comes back. Hopefully he comes back. And Treylon Burks is the wide receiver one for the Titans. So you know what? Those two guys are going to be, and he's not just going to fall into the end zone on touchdowns. So we're going to give you a quick rundown of some players to target for the coming week with a little bit of information on them for their matchup this week and what they got coming up against. So let's get into Los Peekups. Vámonos! And we are going to start with, at the quarterback position, Mike White, rostered in 4% of leagues at Minnesota. So yes, the QB5 in week 12 is just how we predicted Mike White would finish after he threw for 315 yards and 3 TDs. Yes, he finished ahead of Patrick Mahomes. He finished ahead of Josh Allen, just like we predicted. So now I've got people on Discord asking me if they should drop Gabe Davis to pick up Garrett Wilson. I still keep Gabe Davis. Josh Allen, I want any piece of Josh Allen's offense right now. But White is a good call, and especially this week after the Vikings gave up 382 yards and 2 touchdowns to Mac Jones on Thanksgiving evening. The Vikings are allowing 298.8 yards per game and are number 29 against the QB. Mike White is a play this week. Another player who could be a play this week is Jared Goff. He's rostered in 46% of leagues, going up against Jacksonville. This is at a home game where Goff has gone over 300 yards twice and has one other game where he threw for 4 TDs. He's thrown 15 of his 17 TD passes have been at home. Now it gets Jacksonville, and that's a defense that has given up no fewer than 252 passing yards and has 8 total TDs against it in the last 4 games. All right, running backs, Familia. Zonovan White. I had to look up that name too this week. Rostered in just 1% of leagues at Minnesota. 14 carries, 69 yards. This is all based on if Michael Carter misses time. It's an ankle sprain. Dr. Porras originally thought it might be a high ankle sprain. The team is announcing that it's a low ankle sprain. Again, if Carter misses any time, I think Knight is the play. I mean, they could bring James Robinson back. He was a healthy scratch last week, but you know what? I look at Zonovan White. He showed good burst, decent speed. This Minnesota defense is giving up 125 scrimmage yards per game since week 7. These per game averages are since week 7. So I look at Knight as a possibility. Tony Pollard took him apart, 189 total yards and 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. Another speculative play here, Benny Snell. He's rostered 1% of leagues, going to Atlanta this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers they ruled out Najee Harris after he hurt his abdomen during the game, so that could mean a groin, which could mean weeks. An ab strain could also mean weeks. Jaylen Warren is already down with a hammy. Snell turned 12 carries into 62 yards and a touchdown. His first carries of the year. You got Atlanta. If he's the primary ball carrier, because we know that Mike Tomlin likes to do that with his running backs. Atlanta's number 27 against the running back, giving up 143.8 scrimmage yards per game. Snell is crazy to say it, but he's a play. Another potential play, not a sexy play, not a sexy pick. Tyler Algier, rostered in 47% of leagues. On the other side, he's going to be hosting Pittsburgh. Now, since Cordarrelle Patterson returned, these are his touches per game: 11, 11, 9, and 11. So only one of those games went over 100 yards. So this is a guy who maybe gets you 50, 60, or maybe breaks off some long runs. Maybe falls in a touchdown. He could be a flex play for you with buys, injuries, anything. Steelers are fairly tough, only allowing 74 rushing yards per game to the running backs. So, but again, Algier could be a guy, a little bit of a bench stash on your for you. Jordan Mason. He's rostered in 0% of leagues, going up against Miami this week. Now, this is what's going on with the backfields in San Francisco. You got Elijah Mitchell out 6 to 8 weeks, according to reports. You got Christian McCaffrey. He's dealing with some knee irritation, which is incredibly irritating to all the people who drafted him first or second overall. It's the next man up league, and next man up for San Francisco appears to be Mason. In relief of both McCaffrey and Mitchell last week, he turned 5 catches into 25 yards. So he may just be inheriting some touches based on attrition. Dolphins shut down Dameon Pierce, but basically it was more because of game script than anything else. 49ers aren't going to allow a big blowout. They're great on defense. This is going to be a very entertaining game. Jordan Mason may become a part of that game. Someone who became a part of this last game was Jermichael Hasty. This 3%, he's in 3% of leagues at Detroit. He looked good, relieving Travis Etienne. 17 touches, turned him into 95 yards. Etienne says he's fine. I've heard plenty of players say they're fine, and then they're out a week or the season. So I never trust what the players say or what the coaches say. You want Hasty as kind of a speculative play just in case he gets some carries, because he's going up against Detroit, and they are giving up 102.8 scrimmage yards per game. They've had a couple of tough ones, shut down, did a good job against Saquon Barkley, but you know what? They haven't been just that, that back-breaking defense all season. So Hasty could be a play for you this week, flex play. Wide receiver position, Zay Jones. At Detroit this week, he turned 14 targets into 11 catches for 145 yards, got a 2-point conversion in there. That's his fourth game with 10 plus targets. Detroit, they are number 29 against the wide receiver, allowing 273.5 rushing passing yards per game. So Zay Jones, you know what? Another at the very least, he's a bench stash, maybe someone you could throw right into your lineup for this week. Michael Gallup, roster in 48% of leagues, going up against Indy this week. He ran 29 routes this past game, which was the same number as CeeDee Lamb. His targets, 8 targets. His catches, 5. His yardage, 63 yards. Those are all season highs. Edwin Porras, again, he was someone, he said this is someone to keep an eye on as he gets closer to the year after his knee surgery. So it could be trending up. This may be a tough week for him. The Cowboys are hosting Indianapolis, but they're a very good passing defense. They're number 2 against the wide receivers. So maybe you get him for a future week. Another future play is Van Jefferson. He's rostered in 23% of leagues, going up against Seattle. They're coming to SoFi Stadium. The Rams are a mash unit now, Familia. Matthew Stafford may be shut down for the season. A lot of local writers have been recommending that. Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson both on IR. Allen Robinson has already been announced as having season-ending surgery. Van Jefferson got 7 targets last week. Maybe he turns him into some more. Is he the de facto wide receiver 1? It's probably the case. If you need someone getting targets, Van Jefferson could be a possibility for you. He does have Seattle this week. They're number 12 against the wide receiver, but you know what? After that, they've got Las Vegas, who could be a good play for them. Lastly, we got at the tight end position, we got Juwan Johnson, rostering 48% of leagues, going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is number 27 against the tight end. Before he got shut out last week, he caught 5 touchdowns in 5 weeks. So, you know what? The tight end position, we all know what it's been. It's been basura, familia. This is a guy who's gotten 22 targets during that time frame. Maybe he's someone to get on your bench. Maybe he's someone based on the matchup. He could be a guy to start for you this week. All right, familia, that's it. Quick one. Like I said, let's make sure when you go to fantasypoints.com, use the promo code 22familia10, get 10% off the subscription. That's already been reduced 25% off. Also, please make sure you're going to YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe, por favor, familia. Maybe drop a comment in there. Really appreciate it. Always nice to know if people are enjoying the content that I'm putting out there. Lastly, when you go to Apple, Google, Spotify, you can get the audio version of this podcast. If you want to get if you don't want to see my face, you just want to listen, go for it that way. And go to FamiliaFFB.com. I'm going to be dropping an article on Los Peekups tomorrow, which is going to link to this video. So again, make sure you're going to all those different places to find my content. Also, follow me on Twitter at Jorge Martin17. That's where I push everything out. Instagram, Facebook, at Familia FFB. Again, thank you so much to everybody. Good luck on your waiver wire. Be having some more content come out. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.